News Central now at this hour begins with security matters, where the Nigerian police says it has killed a total of 7 terrorists in recent operations across the country. Force Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi disclosed this in the statement issued on Sunday. ACP Adejobi noted that 23 firearms and assorted ammunition were also recovered by the men of the force of the operations. He said the operations were parts of efforts to dismantle criminal networks and enhance internal security. Adejobi assured members of the public that operations will continue with renewed vigor to ensure a safer environment for all Nigerians. And staying with security matters, the Nigeria Police Force has intensified its fight against violent crimes, neutralizing 9 terrorists and recovering 23 firearms in recent operations. Now, on February 14th, police in Kebbi State rescued a kidnapped victim after a gun battle in Tundanfare Forest. 4 kidnappers were killed, 1 arrested, and 3 million naira in ransom money was recovered. In Imo State, security forces raided an IPOB ESN camp on February 8th, eliminating 2 kingpins and seizing weapons. A follow-up operation on February 9th led to the deaths of 3 more terrorists. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun praised the officers, urging increased intelligence gathering and public cooperation to sustain the fight against crime. In Kwara State, men of the police force have arrested 29-year-old Islamic teacher for the alleged murder of Yetunde Lawal, a final-year student at Kwara State College of Education. The said cleric denied involvement in the victim's death, stating that she was his girlfriend. According to him, Yetunde had mentioned attending an event at 1 p.m. that day, but returned after 3 p.m. He said she told him she was hungry, prompting him to go out and buy food for her. However, upon his return, he allegedly found her gasping for breath. Yetunde Lawal was reported missing on February 11th, a day after she failed to return home. Her remains were later discovered in the cleric's residence, where police disclosed that they also found fetish items alongside Yetunde's body, casting doubts on the claims of the suspect. Ismail Tanko Wudilawa, a retired Joint Task Force commander, has accused foreign authorities of funding insurgency in Nigeria. Now, this comes on the heels of claims by U.S. lawmaker Scott Perry that United States Agency for International Development, USAID, is allegedly sponsoring acts of terrorism worldwide, including in Nigeria. Wudilawa, who was responding to the claims of the U.S. congressman, agreed that there are visible signs of foreign involvement in Nigeria's security crisis, particularly in the tactics and operations of Boko Haram terrorists. He noted that the insurgents possesses advanced military training, sophisticated weaponry, and other forms of support that could only come through external partnerships. He called on both the Nigerian government and the public to remain vigilant and patriotic in safeguarding the lives and sovereignty of its citizens. Away from security matters, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERP) has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the Central Bank of Nigeria to reverse the newly announced hike in automated teller machine transaction fees, describing the policy as unlawful, unfair, unreasonable, and unjust. In an open letter dated February 15, 2025, signed by SERP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization urged CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso to immediately withdraw the policy, warning it would exacerbate financial hardship for Nigerians, especially low-income earners. According to a CBN circular issued on 10th February 2025, ATM withdrawals outside a bank's branch premises will now attract a 100 naira charge per 20,000 naira withdrawn, while transactions at shopping centers, airports, and standalone cash points will carry additional surcharge of up to 500 naira per 20,000 naira withdrawal. The directive takes effect from March 1st, 2025. Now, SERP insists that the increase violates Section 42(1)(a) of the CBN Act of 2007, which mandates the Apex Bank to ensure adequate and reasonable financial services for the public and in the national interest of all. The Nigerian government says it is looking for alternative funding sources after the United States suspended foreign aid. A top official in the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning says Nigeria views the policy as an opportunity to boost economic growth through foreign investment and partnerships. While foreign aid has been helpful, the government aims to reduce reliance on it. One major concern is the funding for HIV programs, which heavily depend on donor support. Director General of NACA, Dr. Temitope Lori, says Nigeria is working on domestic funding strategies to sustain HIV prevention and treatment efforts. President Donald Trump suspended U.S. foreign aid for 90 days after taking office. And for more on this, we're joined by a political analyst in person of Akin Fakbonda. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, viewers.
Okay, let me kick off by asking you, how significant is U.S. foreign aid to Nigeria's economy, and what sectors will be most affected by its suspension?
Well, we rely too much on foreign things in this country, and it's not good for us at all. It's like we are used to feeding bottle from outside, and it has stifled our own way of thinking, our own way of looking at life. We're not going to develop if we depend on others. It is absolute. It's going to affect our psyche, our psychology, which is a positive development.
Mr. Fakbonda, talking about dependency on, on foreign aids and on foreign goods, what alternative funding strategies can Nigeria adopt, for instance, to ensure a sustainable economic growth and, of course, development?
Well, as I said, if you don't look inwards, we're just wasting time. For example, anytime there's a public offer for bond or for public subscription of shares, it's always oversubscribed, meaning that there's so much money in this country in private hands. Only government has to develop a transparency outlook. Most of the money with individuals will come out to execute government projects. But very, very importantly, government money is being stolen every day. Government is leaking revenue massively. If you can just look at the right places, there's so much money to fund practical things that will aid the country to develop.
So what steps, in the light of what you have just said, would you recommend for governments, shifting from foreign aid, and also investment, to local production to boost revenue in Nigeria?
The first thing is that, like this year's budget, there's a deficit of 14 trillion naira, meaning the government is broke. But why the government is broke? They are looking the other way when there's so much stealing. Look, in the National Assembly, their salary amounts to public theft because whatever is not given to anybody, it is taken to be stealing. If the government approves 1 million per month, and then you on your own decide to be taking 20 million, is that not stealing? If you stop all the stealing, there's money to do many things in this country. Over invoice contracts, one contract, one road, 3 billion for 1 kilometer. Are we paving the road with diamond or with gold? We have so much resources and there's so much wastage. We have no reason to lack anything at all. We're endowed. Foreigners are mining solid minerals in Nigeria. Nobody keeps tracks of them. It's just unfortunate. We have wealth, but we are suffering in the midst of wealth.
Let's take a closer look at the suspension of foreign aid, looking at HIV programs now heavily reliant on donor support. What are the risks of reduced funding, and how can Nigeria ensure continued access to treatment?
Well, it's a shock. It's a shock to the system. For example, the HIV palliative funding. Before the Nigerian government will react, which is usually very slow, the incidence of HIV will just grow massively in the country. That will be the first impact of the withdrawal of aid, because we don't respond to issues in a timely manner. In any case, this year's budget has already been passed, so it's a good turnaround that we have to shift away from aid. Whatever the consequences, it is still good for us to be weaned from anything from overseas. May I make the point that we need somebody like Elon Musk in Nigeria too. Elon Musk is the one appointed by Trump to expose all the massive corruption in the US government. We need somebody like Elon Musk in Nigeria too, to go into the books of government and show all the areas of blatant stealing, blatant taking of public money. We will survive effectively if we can do that. We need an Elon Musk kind of person in Nigerian government.
Mr. Fakwaonda, if you can help us turn on your video, while you do that, let me wrap up by asking you what's your reference, people like Elon Musk making huge, impacts when it comes to learning from foreign nations. Now, talking about foreign nations, what lessons can Nigeria learn from nations, to reduce dependency on foreign aid? Now, lessons, now I'm referring to lessons we can learn from foreign countries.
Well, we patronize Nigerian goods. We like to buy SUVs from Japan. We like to buy Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon from Germany. What is the basis for that? We're supposed to have locally made vehicles. The amount of money spent on cars, on SUVs alone, is a tremendous drain of the economy. If we look inwards and really be patriotic, but it takes leadership to do that. Leaders going about for foreign medical treatment is a very bad example for citizens to follow. It's based on leadership. If leaders really want us to change, we will change. But if they continue looking for foreign assistance, foreign direct investments, no foreigner will help you at all, none. When we wake up from the colonial mentality that we have, then we'll be ready to be a country, really.
All right, thank you so much for your insight on the news. Akin Fakwaonda, political analyst, many thanks indeed for your time. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll look at, counterfeit drugs as it rages. NAFDAC cracks down on phony drugs. A detail shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying tuned. The rising cost of eggs is now worrisome to both traders and consumers alike. What used to be an affordable source of protein for many households is fast becoming a luxury. News Central's Oluwakemi Alimi paid a visit to a poultry in Lagos to find out why eggs are gradually becoming food for the rich.
Eggs, once an affordable source of protein for millions of Nigerians, are now becoming a luxury. Prices have doubled in recent months, and both farmers and consumers are feeling the pinch. But what's behind the surge in cost? We visited a poultry farm to find out.
One of the major factors that contributes to the production cost of egg, to high cost of egg, is high cost in their feed intake on the birds, because the feed is so expensive that we, the poultry farmers, are finding difficult to manage with.
The ripple effects of the egg price surge are being felt across the supply chain, with bakers and egg wholesalers also sharing their concerns with me. And for consumers, eggs, once a daily staple, are now an occasional treat.
This time, February last year, we were getting a crate of egg less than 3,000, and now a crate of egg is about 6,000 naira. If you're getting from a depot, probably you get at 5,005, 5,008 from a depot, and you're buying from retailers, you'll be getting like 6,000, 6,005, depending on your location. So it has really affected cost of production greatly. I would say yes, this year sales dropped.
Having to cope with this continuous rise in price has not been easy for us, because we also have to be considerate of the people that are eating the eggs at the end of the day. So we can't even make so much profit from each batch of egg as against what we used to make in time past. I think we are making like half of what we used to make in time past on the same quantity of eggs. And it's not getting funny.
Rising egg prices are a clear sign of the challenges facing Nigeria's agricultural sector, from high production costs to supply chain disruptions. As farmers, traders, and consumers continue to struggle, the big question remains: what can be done to make food, including eggs, more affordable again? In Lagos for News Central, I am Oluwakemi Alimi.
Tributes are still pouring for the late leader of the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group, Afenifere, Ayo Adebanjo, who passed on Friday at the age of 96. Now this comes as Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, and Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, on Saturday paid a visit to the residence of the late nonagenarian in Lekki area of Lagos State. News Service correspondent Bettina Unwili tells us more.
1928, Pa Ayo Adebanjo had lived through the finest and the ugliest moments of Nigeria. From the struggle for independence, the Civil War, the military dictatorship era, and the return to democracy since 1999. He was one of the founding fathers of Alliance for Democracy, the political party that gave the current President Bola Tinubu a platform for his governorship ambition in 1999. Late Adebanjo, a mentee and political disciple of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, had remained faithful to the ideology and political philosophy of his mentor, that is, Awoism. A visit by the New Central crew to the residence of the late nonagenarian in the Lekki area of Lagos State reveals how he was revered by movers and shakers of the polity, who collectively described him as a man who lived a true and worthy life of blessing and amazing grace.
He was a role model. He was a father figure to us. He was an iconic, Yoruba man who we all became very fond of because of his dogged principle. He was irrevocably principled. He was bold, he was audacious, he was consistent, he was fearless. Baba would tell it as he sees it, as he feels, regardless of how anyone feels about it.
We learned a lot at his feet, particularly for equity in the Nigerian states, that every ethnic nationality in Nigeria should have a sense of belonging in the running of the affairs of Nigeria. And that was what Ayo Adebanjo, I believe, Nigerians will most remember him for, as a man of conviction, as a man of courage, as a man whose position on national issues you do not need to guess. He says it the way he feels it.
My father had integrity. I mean, it's been said over and over again, and in fact, and the integrity according to my father's world view is basically, one, having the courage of your conviction, telling it as it is. My difference with him was that I do everything with moderation, but my father would say it as it is. And when he says it, he puts it in context for you to understand. He's not a blabber, he doesn't just talk.
Pa Ayo Adebanjo had been one of the most vocal, brutally frank and unrelenting until his death, calling for the restructuring of Nigeria. Baba Adebanjo, a journalist before he ventured into law, is survived by his only wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, among others. In Lagos, For News Central, I am Bettina Nwili.
And now to politics, where Nigeria's Electoral Commission is calling for stricter laws to prevent vote buying and other malpractices. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, wants individuals to be prohibited from carrying large sums of money within polling areas. INEC's Director of Litigation and Prosecution, Tanimu Muhammad, suggests a cash limit of 50,000 naira within polling areas. This move aims to curb vote buying, which has become a major threat to Nigeria's democratic process. Security agencies have reaffirmed their commitment to ensuring free and fair elections, but acknowledged challenges in logistics and coordination. Lawmakers have pledged to address the concerns raised with plans for 2025 electoral acts to replace the current 2022 version. The proposed reforms aim to strengthen Nigeria's electoral laws and prevent malpractices. And still on political matters, a chieftain of Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, and former secretary of the defunct Action Congress, Usman Baguje, has called for a collegiate system of leadership in the country to end the North-South presidential rotation debate. Baguje said he would prefer the country to get the best hands wherever they might come from to run the country than narrowing the presidential choice to a region of the country. Now, he called for inclusive governance based on competence and denounced the perennial regional division and corrupt leadership in Nigeria. The political and civil society activists stressed the need for a new narrative that combined popular participation with tangible developmental outcomes. The crisis rocking the PDP party seems not to have abated despite the intervention of the governors under the platform of the party, throwing their weight behind Sunday Ude Okoye as the authentic national secretary of the party. Now, a faction of the party loyal to the embattled national secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, has rejected the decision of the PDP Governors Forum, saying it runs contrary to the party's constitution and does not recognize a valid court ruling on the matter, which earlier called for a stay of execution.
It's high time we say we don't want to remain silent any longer, to allow people that claim to love PDP, that parade themselves as lovers of PDP, to go ahead carrying narrative, deceiving party faithfuls in Nigerians and abroad and Nigerians. We only have PDP, and that's why we said today we are going to expose those weeds in PDP. We are calling on the Taraba State Governor specifically to speak out regarding this section. He was the state chairman of PDP, contested, won the primary, contested the governorship, won the election. He still remained the chairman, functioning as the state chairman. We insist that Senator Samuel Enemeka Anyanwu remains the authentic PDP National Secretary in line with the party constitution and other existing laws of the land.
Away from that, the presidential candidates of the African Action Congress in the 2023 elections, Omoyele Sowore, was reportedly attacked by suspected thugs at a Lagos City Marathon on Saturday morning. Sowore and members of his media crew were assaulted while participating in the event. Now, the attackers also targeted journalists covering the marathon, injuring several and destroying cameras and other equipment. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has sealed over 3,000 shops in Lagos Idumota open drug market in a major crackdown on counterfeit pharmaceuticals. In a statement on Saturday, NAFDAC revealed that official uncovered expired medicines, banned drugs and vaccines stored in unsafe conditions. Now, the raid also exposed diverted HIV antiretroviral drugs and illegal revalidation of expired medicines. 12 truckloads of illicit drugs were seized as part of NAFDAC's renewed efforts to clean up Nigeria's drug market. Now, the agency says it remains committed to protecting public health by eliminating dangerous and counterfeit medications from circulation. Access roads leading to the ports in Nigeria play a pivotal role in the efficiency of the port. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, had in 2023 listed 15 roads connecting Nigeria's seaport that requires urgent and comprehensive rehabilitation and sought collaboration with the Ministry of Works. It's been over a year since both ministers agreed on the way to fix those roads, with the Work Minister, Dave Umai, promising to take action without delay. News Center's maritime correspondent, Eneoma Obi Aswalo, assesses the state of the roads to find out what has changed.
This is Apapa, the road to Nigeria's busiest spot. A visit here shows the poor state of the road. This is increasing transport costs, discouraging foreign investment and hindering trade efficiency. Our ports cannot be competitive with this kind of roads. We call on the federal government to give urgent attention to this route. Nigeria's port access routes, particularly those leading to Apapa ports in Lagos, are generally in poor condition. They are riddled with potholes, uneven surfaces, and inadequate drainage systems, further worsening the traffic situation on the roads, leading to significant congestion, delays in cargo movement, and substantial economic losses as a result of inability to easily access the ports. This situation, which is primarily attributed to inadequate infrastructure, poor maintenance, heavy truck traffic, and a lack of effective management strategies, has hindered port efficiency and competitiveness. Importers and exporters experience high transportation costs, prolonged transit time, and heightened risk of accidents leading to loss of lives. The poor state of the roads brings severe congestion, resulting in long queues of trucks waiting to access the port, causing major gridlock and delays in cargo delivery. Some of the truckers affected by the state of the port access routes speak on the impact of the bad roads and life on the streets while they wait for their turn into the port.
Yeah, we have been on the road for 3 days, and we can stay at times. We can stay 1 week on the road before going inside the port to load out, and it's really affecting us, because before we could even hit, it's very, very hard to hit, and for us to even come down and say we want to bait is very, very too risky for us. So the government they should do something about it. The bad road is affecting us, because when the road is bad, it's affecting us in the way that before we could move from one place to the other place, we are going to wait for other vehicles to move from that place, because we cannot all rush at once because of the bad road. So it's affecting us as well. They should do something about it. The road lumps, they are really affecting us as well, because many trucks you see on road now, some of them, they have back rear lights, and they even have side lights that are working for other trucks to know this is a truck going. But those who dumps, when they see you sleeping a bit at night, they will just go under your truck, then cut those wires, and they will even draw your gas. And sometimes when they draw your gas and you don't know, as you want to start your truck, it will cut. So the last man, they will tow your truck, and they will not know maybe it is the hoodlums that are doing all those stuff. And they are even cutting our containers, taking goods that doesn't belong to them, and affecting us in the way that they will say, okay, the driver will be the one to pay for the goods.
It takes 2 to 3 weeks on the line from Lily Pond to port, but we thank God. Our boss, Alhaji Shitu Shagalo, has been very efficient since he came. He stays at Area B and parks the trucks himself, and won't allow trucks drivers use the other lane. He goes to Eleganza and makes sure the line goes smoothly. Now we've been on the line facing this for 3 days. We left our wives,
and children at home. I personally have left home for 14 days now. My wife has been fighting me over this, but I keep telling her it works and is very tasking. This is one of the reasons why some of our drivers smoke weed when they have slept outside for too long and mosquitoes have bitten them for too long. It happened this midnight. When we were coming, the driver was asleep and they hurriedly woke him up. He started the truck and he hit a truck in front of him. We are not sure how that happened. He wanted to relax and sleep a bit and that happened. Once we all saw that, we went to check and we saw that sleep was still in his eyes. Some people will refuse to sleep because of these things like these lure drivers into this street habit. A lot of drivers have embraced these societal ills as a result of being on the street for too long. From Lily Pond to Apapa shouldn't take us more than 5 minutes, but it now takes us 3 to 4 days. Some drivers are now in prison because there is no security. We are begging Governor Sanwo-Olu to give us tight security from Apapa to Onipano. Many thieves cutting our containers, sending drivers to prison. When you go to prison now, so many truck drivers are there. We are thankful to Governor Sanwo-Olu because he has repaired some bad roads, but there are still many more that needs to be fixed. What bad road does is that it makes our trucks fall. If we are coming, we see bend roads, but there is no alternative route. We'll have to follow the roads. The front of the truck might have successfully gone through. The remaining back might fall the truck, and we can't run on these roads. You will now see thieves robbing us there. I've seen the driver come down to have a face-off with those thieves, and they use machetes on the driver's head. And all this is because of bad roads. We beg Governor Sanwo-Olu. He's really trying in Lagos State, but he should please do more, especially for Ijora to Alaka. It's very bad. We beg Governor Sanwo-Olu. He's working, but he should do more.
In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
Coming up, African Union urges immediate action against M23 rebels. These and more shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. The Niger's military ruler, General Abdurrahman Giani, has opened a 5-day national convention in the capital, Niamey, aimed at determining the duration of the country's ongoing transition following the July 2023 coup that brought his regime to power. Shortly after the coup in August 2023, Giani had pledged to hold an inclusive national dialogue to establish governance priorities and set a transition timeline. At the time, he suggested a maximum 3-year transition, but has remained silent on the issue since. Now Nigeria joins a growing list of Sahel nations where the military has seized power amid escalating jihadist insurgencies, raising concerns over regional stability and the future of democracy in West Africa. At least 48 people have been killed following the collapse of an illegally operated gold mine in western Mali on Saturday, according to authorities and local sources. Now, Mali, one of Africa's top gold producers, frequently witnessed deadly mining accidents due to unregulated operations. Officials said the mine was previously operated by a Chinese company, but had been abandoned before illegal miners moved in. This strategy comes just weeks after a gold mine landslide in southern Mali killed at least 10 people in January, with many others missing, most of them women. A year earlier, more than 70 miners died in a tunnel collapse in the same region. The African Union AU has called for the immediate removal of M23 rebel group and their supporters from all towns and cities in eastern DRC, including Goma Airport. Bankole Adeoye, the AU's Peace and Security Commissioner, emphasized the need to prevent balkanization of eastern DRC. This statement comes after M23's recent capture of Bukavu, the country's second largest city, escalating concerns over regional stability. Now, the EU's call underscores the urgency for coordinated international response to halt the advance of the M23 rebels and restore peace in the region. African Union is once again under the spotlight Delegates from across the continent have just concluded a pivotal summit, and initial reactions are largely positive. The AU's efforts in mediating conflicts, promoting economic cooperation, and addressing critical challenges are being hailed as significant steps forward. While acknowledging the strides the AU has made, some observers and civil society groups are urging for even bolder action.
It was quite decisive in terms of, the Secretary General, in terms of what he would expect of the African Union. He was quite clear in terms of the mandate also from the UN that a country's sovereignty will be protected, and as the United Nations, they're supporting Africa, and that Africa is the next hub for global growth. He also had quite a number of words on AI and the embracing of AI, that AI should not be restricted only to the West, but it should also be resonant within the African continent. So those are the key messages that have come through.
African leaders have shown commitment towards especially reparations for Africa, especially in the DCA 2025.
I think that the African Union needs to listen beyond only speaking to heads of state and ministers in this room. They need to listen to the average citizens and the public outside of the four walls of the Commission here, because I think that many citizens of the African Union don't even know the role of the African Union. And when they have domestic issues like we are seeing currently in DRC and Rwanda, they don't see the African Union playing a very major role in helping to bring this kind of conflict to a stop as soon as possible. And so I think that it's work.
For more on this, we have a correspondent on standby, and that's Bongani Sisiba. Bongani, over to you.
Good afternoon, Adebola, and also our viewers. It has been a positive 5 days here in Addis Ababa, where we have seen positive discussions with heads of states and also delegates and civil society that have been meeting here just to have those discussions, the issues in Africa, and also have a way forward to map, especially when it comes to peace and security. So we have seen positive discussions here. But let me just bring in one guest just to speak to us about the key issues that happened here and how she views this summit. Good afternoon, Metlo. Thank you for joining us. What's your assessment of this 38th African Summit that has just happened?
Well, let me introduce myself first so that people know how I'm coming from. Yes, I am Professor Sheila Tlo, former Minister of Health of Botswana, and now the ambassador of the African Leaders Malaria Alliance. This is an organization formed by our own heads of state to say they want to eliminate malaria out of Africa. So my work is advocacy and simply ensuring that every state has data to be able to measure where they are and where they want to go to in terms of the Africa that we all want.
But what's your assessment of takeaways from this summit?
I believe it's a great summit in the sense that there was business, but there were also elections. And true to the way people have been doing things in the African Union, when we have a commissioner who is male, we have a deputy who's female, and all that. So that with the elections, I'm very happy that we do have commissioners who are well qualified, who will be able to carry forth the work of the Commission, of the African Union Commission. Now, other issues concern security, for example. We are having conflicts, and I think people are realizing that with these conflicts, Africa cannot go forth. So my only vibe in there is that if we could have more women involved in the peace process, it would be a whole lot better. I believe that we women have that spirit of humility, but also ensuring that no child dies. So, I believe we should be involved a lot more in the peace negotiation process than what is being done now. We'd have fewer conflicts because, conflicts take us back. And this is a time when if we are going for the Africa we want, we should be having no conflict. All the guns should be stopped, and silencing the guns is a very important one. So I'm hopeful because We have new commissioners, we have new ways of doing things. Let's just hope for the best. Yeah, but in terms of health, definitely the area of health has been very, I have all the confidence. For example, the malaria. All of our leaders agree that it is time to eliminate, and where before people used to think we could not, how do we even get rid of malaria? We now have countries, for example, Egypt, Cabo Verde, Madagascar, Mauritius, which have been certified free of malaria. We want that for each and every African country, and I know we'll get there with all the determination that I see some of our heads of state having. Yes.
We have a new leadership. Do you think it's going to bring a new perspective to the organization?
You mean leadership for what? For the African Union?
The African.
Well, I think so. We have Djibouti, which to me it's great because, for the first time we have an Arab country. Of course, they speak French, but it has been a country that has been in the Horn of Africa, where sometimes they really didn't know whether they fell in Eastern and Southern Africa or MENA, especially under the WHO context. So with them, I feel we will be able to move. And then, of course, we have a female who is the deputy. Yeah, and I really, and she's coming from Algeria. One of my favorite places. So I really believe if they work, the idea is that there has to be collaboration. You just don't make rules or policies. This have to be agreed by the heads of state. And then with proper measurement to say, in a year's time, what do we expect to see? In order for us to be able to say we are progressing. I think with that, we'll be able to get there. Data is very important. Yes.
And lastly, we have President Boma of Botswana being elected as the AMLA president. Your thoughts?
We are very grateful that our president, President Gideon Dumaboko, actually agreed to be the chairperson or the Malaria Alliance. And we feel, he is so determined. He has the energy. Of course, he's a younger person, and I really believe that with him, the way we're briefing him and telling him that, look, in Africa right now, there are 3 countries that are due for possible elimination, and they've just delayed. These countries are Botswana, South Africa, Eswatini. If we can be able to work with him on these 3, we'll have 3 more countries near elimination, and Namibia following suit. But also an improvement in the Angola and the DRC situation, because we do have countries that are really overburdened by malaria. Sometime back last year, we had 680,000 deaths from malaria, and most of them were in Nigeria, DRC, Angola. So we need to be able to really get to our countries to say, let's go as near to elimination as possible, and we can do it. Yes.
Thank you so much. That was Metho speaking to us about positive, crucial discussions that have been happening here for the past 5 days. So now we await the AU chairperson, the new elected one, to address the closing ceremony, just to hear his views and where he is going to take this organization. It's back to you in the studio, Adebola.
Thank you so much, Bongani Sisiba, for your correspondence there at the 38th African Union Summit. Once again, thank you, Bongani. Outside the African continent, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed a unified strategy with U.S. President Donald Trump concerning Gaza's future, following a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Netanyahu stated that they have a common strategy, which includes when the gates of hell will be open, as they surely will if all hostages are not released until the last one of them. Netanyahu discussed with the Secretary Rubio on Trump's bold vision for Gaza and how to work together to ensure that future becomes a reality. President Trump's proposal involves the U.S. taking control of Gaza and relocating its more than 2 million residents, a plan that has faced significant international criticism. In the world of sports, Uganda's Jacob Kimpelimo made history by becoming the fastest to run a half marathon under 57 minutes, setting a new world record of 56 minutes 42 seconds in Barcelona. Now, the 24-year-old shattered Ethiopian Yomif Kajolcha's previous mark of 57 minutes 30 seconds, achieving the biggest single improvement in the event's history. Kimpelimo also set a world best of 39 minutes 47 seconds for 15 kilometers during the race, held in ideal 13 degrees Celsius conditions with no wind. The former Olympic and World Championships bronze medalists dominated the field, with compatriot Geoffrey Kamworor finishing second in 58 minutes 44 seconds, and Kenya's Samuel Mailu third in 59 minutes 40 seconds. Now, Kimpelimo's performance cements his status as one of the world's premier long-distance runners. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Police neutralize 7 terrorists, recover arms, ammunition as the fight against terrorism continues. NAFDAC has cracked down on fake drugs, sealed 3,000 shops over counterfeit drugs. We also told you that the African Union has urged immediate action against M23 rebels to the DRC. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adiduba.